Hello, it's been a while since I've sat in front of this camera and rambled to myself for my own entertainment and then uploaded it. It's been a while since I've done any part of that process, not just the uploading part, for a record, because when I do ramble, I do upload, and I don't edit. Today, we're listening to my year in review playlist over to the side, courtesy of Amazon Music. I'm not entirely sure how it works. I think it's listed in terms of the order of songs I listen to most, but because it seems like that makes sense based on the songs that are on it and the order they're in, but I'm not sure. Also, interestingly enough, when I look at the user interface, the numbers, like the order of the songs, is changing, but the actual order that it plays in, like if I click the thing that says that like number 17 song in the playlist, it plays the same song it showed at the very beginning, but it shows a different song like in the list. So I don't really know what's happening with that. What's happening in my life? A lot. The situation has changed drastically from the last video, and yet at the same time, fundamentally very little. I'm still a kid in college taking classes who manages to find time to talk to friends from high school and to his brother and to his parents and like to ramble to a camera and who romanticizes his brief walks between places in his alone time and who likes to vegetate and listen to music and imagine great futures for himself, as well as to occasionally indulge in some pity partying and become very confident that none of those futures have any chance of coming to pass. I have a girlfriend now, I guess. It's weird. I don't know. I don't know. Life scares me very much so, and like I try to just take it day by day. I try to be a chill person, like fun, cool. I don't know if I really try to be cool. I just am, Don't have to put effort into it. But the truth is, I'm extremely neurotic. I'm extremely scared that people don't actually like me, and that like people are acting like they're my friends or whatever. And like I don't have any idea of a motivation for that, other than like maybe they're polite or maybe I'm being Truman showed. But like these thoughts do run through my head, and I'm making it seem like a bigger deal in this video than it actually is for me. It's not like an everyday thing, but it's specifically when I start thinking about romantic relationships that I begin to doubt all other relationships, friendships, acquaintances that I have in this way. And it's not healthy. It's not good. And like, is this a new thing? Sort of not. And once again, it's not like this is my overwhelming like. I don't think these thoughts every day. It's just when I sit down to ramble, I'm going to ramble my worst thoughts. Right, just the other day, I was the when I decided I was going to come back and record another one of these that I hadn't done in a while. It was because I was walking and I was thinking really happy thoughts about how I don't need to have super original ideas. Like the recognition that someone else's ideas are right, or coming to a simple conclusion about some facet of life, even if it doesn't inspire you to do something different or to revolutionize the way you see the world, just coming to a conclusion, even if it's not your own original conclusion, even if it's just recognizing someone else's ideas are right, like what's wrong with that? What is wrong with appreciating the thought that someone else has put in? And what's wrong with just finding comfort in facts, in something you can take to heart, even like if you've come to a realization that completely guides your life, like that's great. You have a purpose or a direction, but at the same time, you're really setting yourself up for failure if you take any given epiphany and run with it too far. It's you're holding scissors, and so you got to be careful. And I always love these little turns of phrase I try to put into these videos, into my thoughts and how I speak to people. And I don't think people judge me too harshly for them because they don't usually hit, but like they don't miss terribly. Um, the little wordplay I go for. And I'll never be able to recreate the thought process that ran through my head last night. Like, I just accept that. Like, I'm thinking it right now, and I got the first part of it right. And then I started thinking about how I was talking to myself aloud on this walk, and I was like, well, if anyone was with me, they'd think I was crazy, right? Because I was alone talking to myself aloud on the street. But if someone was with me, I wouldn't be crazy because I'd be talking to them. The thing that would be different is that they presumably wouldn't just sit there bored and listen. I wouldn't be crazy, I'd just be boring, which is an altogether worse thing to be in my personal opinion, but who knows? It's That's very much up to the beholder, the listener, or the ignorer, as I believe it would turn out to be the case. Um, the diversity of every time everyone I've talked to this playlist about, which isn't that I know, only I know. Yeah, it's the range of the songs that it jumps from one to the other. I love it so much. It's my music taste so not distilled, but spread out for all to see. And for all I mean for me. Uh, it's entertaining. There's a lot of emotional cross cutting. In addition to musical genres, the effect songs have on me varies, and so it's high low. But the ultimate effect is a very calm contentment that I get when listening to this music and just kind of staring out, or in this case, talking to the camera. I'm talking very quietly, I think, so you're really probably getting more music than me. Also, the phone is on the table. There's going to be some vibrations. I imagine that could affect some staticky noise. Um, I sung my song for two people. One, the person who like sort of inspired it, and then the other, the person who's guaranteed well, one of two people who's guaranteed an invite to my wedding if it ever happens. Mountain zoning in California is actually a big problem. You know, the rules they put in there really preserve the current home ownership class of California at the expense of everyone else. Like LA, it's like 96% single family housing. I don't know those right numbers, and the statistic might be 90% for San Jose, and it's like 60 or 50 for LA. Regardless, it's ridiculous for a city of that size and scope to mandate such levels of sprawl. When you know that there is a housing shortage, you have the space to house people, you have the materials to house people, you have the economic power of the state to provide housing and food to all these people, and you make policy choices not to. It is a supposedly progressive and liberal place. That is not acceptable. There's a YouTube video I have not watched by the New York Times entitled "Liberal Hypocrisy is Fueling American Inequality," and well, I'm sure there are things in that video I like disagree with, just based on how the title is framing it. I believe the title was framing it that way to generate views from liberals who are like, "What? No." That's why I haven't clicked it to resist what I believe is a clickbait title. But I think there's something fundamentally true about it. Like I don't think like outright greed and evil from people. Evil's a strong word. Greed, disregard for others from people on the right is not a cause of inequality in this country. Like I don't think you can ignore that. But I will accept that California is a great example, not of failure of liberal policies, because there's a lot that's going well in California from an economic perspective. There's a reason people from around the world have this strong image of California. Uh, but it is it's a good example of how NIMBYism and how hypocrisy limits the effect of progressive movements within American culture. Uh, and that's a far more interesting take than to just say, look at California, it's blue and it's homeless people. It also has San Francisco and LA and these thriving, very different economic markets across various industries, a strong agricultural sector, which once again I don't think you can credit these things to necessarily policies, though once again the importance of public investment in building the infrastructure needed for all these things over time is not necessarily an argument for like progressive or liberal ideology, but it's certainly an argument for the importance of it's not an argument for liberalism in the sense of like rights, or in the idea of progressivism in the sense of redistribution and support for weaker individuals in society. However, it is certainly an argument for the importance of collectivism of some sort, or of the pooling of resources in the form of government programs that to do things that no individual could do on their own, such as basic research, such as building infrastructure that no single person would profit enough from to warrant, but that the network effects are what generate the profit or the consumer surplus or producer surplus for all individuals involved. I'm applying to an internship in Germany. I wrote a cover letter today. I'll edit it a little bit and make 2 other slightly different versions for it because I'm applying to 3 different internships in Germany actually. I hope I get to go. I do think I hope to get to go. Because it's 10 weeks in Germany or whatever, doing research and meeting people, and it's an adventure, a story to tell one day. However, I am so scared because it's 10 weeks away from my friends, and there are a lot of those, and people I don't get to see very often, and life goes forward. You lose these summers together. People disperse, and soon the focus won't be adventures for me. It'll be finding a way to interact with people, and that's already the focus. That should always be the focus. The meaning of life is other people. Hank Green, John Green said it. I heard it from them. They stole it from somewhere. If you ever want to save yourself time instead of talking to me, just watch vlog videos. That's where my ideas come from. And I do obviously consume other media. I talk to other people. I steal things from many people. I engage in unfair trade with many content creators. I think that's a funny thing to say in general. Obviously, you weren't there for the joke, unless you're the person who made it. Well, we made it together. Anyway, I just gotta do my own thing, own thing. I've gotten really into but specifically in addition to all these friends that I'm worried about missing, and family too. I won't go into family. I won't see the grandparents or whatever. There's a specific individual who I feel like 10 weeks apart from will be particularly impactful for our relationship, or has the potential to be particularly detrimental to our relationship. At the same time, it's a good stress test, I would say, or a good chance to reevaluate many things and who knows where we'll even be, over the course of the next 16 weeks leading up to it. That's both simultaneously very short, but also a lot can happen. All happened in this 16 weeks. And I like to think that the last 16 weeks forged a bond that will last longer than the time it took to create them. But who can say? I started out this video. I don't know how I started it. At some point early in this video, I talked about my sense of paranoia about relationships. And once again, I wanted to reiterate, it's not all bad, right? I'm in a ramble mode, so I ramble other things. I get other stuff done. I talk to other people about other things. And even when I do talk about this topic, I don't mention the paranoia. I mention funny things we said or did, right? I entertain. The goal of this is simply not entertainment. It's to inform. Specifically, it's to inform myself. I envision myself at some point in the future looking back at these. As I mentioned in the previous rambling videos, I see myself looking back at these and trying to glean some idea about who I am as a person, how I've changed. Because the idea of change keeps coming up. It keeps coming up. Have people changed? How have they changed? And I don't know if this is just because of where my friends are in their life. I have a feeling to think it's not just that. I think it's more deeply tied to the pandemic, the fact that we're coming out of it, and that we are finally in what is just a new normal where COVID's here. I can't remember if I already talked about this in one of these videos, because I know this thought has been in my head a lot, and I don't think I've ever mentioned it to a person besides Catherine Liao. She was a guest on this at some point. Maybe I don't think Sue ever was actually. So maybe I'm repeating ground here. And I've gotten some people have said I've come out of my shell or they think I'm more social. But I've also gotten some people who say they don't really think I've changed. So I'm still quirky, goofy, nerdy, nice, so on and so forth. And one person said they think I'm more social this year than I was in the previous 2 years in college. But they see that not as a function of me changing, but as just the chance circumstance of having people around me who I can be social with. And that's where I see it too. That's how I see the situation personally, but I am biased. I do these things to preserve a sense of continuity between myself and my past selves. It's very important to me that I don't change. It's very important to me that like there's a core Donovan essence that doesn't change. Well, my opinions on certain things may grow or develop or become more informed. I like to imagine some incontrovertible essence, not just for me but for people. In general, I do like to think that that exists. And I don't know why. Like, where does this idea come from? I think it comes from, for me, my fear of mortality. And my fear of, like, going to sleep and never waking up again. That I used to have pretty strongly. But at the same time, I had a desire for that circumstance, as dreams were the only place I truly felt were interesting and worth exploring and, like, made me happy. I had strange thoughts as a kid. And I thought most of them while falling asleep. And that was a slow, drawn-out process because I did not sleep well as a child, or now particularly. Though, what I've done recently is just I allow myself to be forced to stay up very late on many nights, and then the other nights I kind of just crash. And sometimes I don't even crash at night. Sometimes it's 4 p.m., which is not night, though the sun might be down because of daylight savings time in winter. And I'm just gone. But despite all that, I've gotten so much done. I've gotten my stuff done. I've helped other people with their classes. I've found time to record these videos. Like, I am very impressed with myself, and I don't expect other people to be impressed with me, because this is what people do. They live their lives. They find time for their hobbies. They get things done to the level they feel is necessary, and they try to avoid trying to find an unhealthy level of pressure, because obviously I could be doing so much more. I just don't think like there's been a need to. And I've obviously, as I always say whenever I say anything about how impressed with myself I am, there's privilege here, right? I have the money that allows me to not need like a full job. Like I have one, I get paid, but I don't need to be paid. I have money that I can just give to other people occasionally, which really has simplified certain moments in my life to just be like, here you go, man. Let's speed this up. Like I don't know what I need to work on or improve. Like, I need to be smarter in certain practical aspects. But that's one. I just need to learn a couple of things. That's not like wake up in the morning, gotta thank the Lord. Two, I think something like emotional moderation, controlling my mental state. I guess like my emotional state is something I'm pretty good at. People see me as a calm person generally. I think doing it internally, make myself happier, as I've talked about throughout this, is something that I just need to work on, right? Like choosing to be happy. That is a choice that I can make, and I think that I should make more often than I do. At the same time, I think the fact that I'm torn, right? Like, and maybe it's not as much of a choice as I think, as I'm trying to make it out to be. I don't know. I don't know. I say that a lot. It's the most I write songs, as we know. It's the most common song lyric, I think. I don't know. I don't know. It's a good thing to say. It's true. It's so often so true. So I talked earlier about how I steal ideas from people. I just also really love the way I syncretize the vocabulary of other people, and that's how people socialize. That's how our brains just function. And it's really interesting to me to trace me saying so true from one person to another. And like big if true. Like I have these little sayings that I mix up depending on the group a little bit, but it's not even necessarily like a choice to code switch. It's just where my brain goes based on the people I'm with. And it's an interesting development. So what have we talked about here? Not much of substance. We've just kind of a deep, not even that deep of a dive. We've had a little wade into the pool of my mind, and I've gotten lost in there, like I often do. But I think this has been helpful for me. I'm very tired. I've gotten very little sleep. I sort of watched the sunrise with my roommates. It didn't really work out. Trivial pursuits. That's what I feel like a lot of life is. The pursuit of love, the pursuit of happiness, the pursuit of trivia itself. Those are things that I spend a lot of time thinking about, I guess. And is it worth it? Who knows? What does it mean either way, really?